Yo, what is good, everybody? Radiance, or radiant, radiance, radiant. What in the heck is going on with the end game with this show? With seeing this kid getting tricked by seemingly nice people, um, this show kind of gives me the feeling that it has a lot in store that we don't even know about. And I love shows that can actually do that in the sense of not make it obvious what's 10,000% coming in the future. Like, don't get me wrong, it could be pretty generic when it comes down to his overall arcing, um, story, his overall arcing, progression of becoming what he's going to become. So that in itself isn't what I'm talking about. It's the journey to get to that point, which I'm thinking, man, these guys are about to slap the heck out of this nemesis, and maybe this kid is actually going to have some people to look up to. And sure, the guy was trying to give Seth some information that should have gave him hope. It should have gave him a little bit of, courage, which it did. Enough courage to pretty much try to fight the big guy that the big nemesis that pretty much shows up. So it's like not only did he kind of get some, courage to stand up and fight, but it was from a very terrible person. So even like a person who's pretty crappy can still give someone inspiration nonetheless, which I thought was a pretty cool call in this week's episode. Like, usually the bad guys say something, very, negative and stuff like that, but to be able to use a supposable bad guy and still let the main character find some good out of what was said or, what could actually be done with, the information he has. It was really cool to see that transpire the way it did, that because he thought of on what that guy said, he actually fought a little bit differently, got the chains and actually started fighting smart, thinking that, you know, if you want to survive, you have to be smart, which I mean, I guess that's just a good line overall, but the person who it came from is the problem overall, like it's like Adolf Hitler or, just some super negative person giving you the advice that you live your life by. I'm not saying he's going to always treasure what this guy said, but at the same time, what this guy said is not wrong at all. Wow, you can't cancel sharpening your weapons. Good to know. Um, but yeah, I really enjoy that the author actually included, or if this was in the manga, which I'm guessing it was, I'm glad that whoever the animator was saw the actual quality and the actual worth in these lines of dialogue, and I hope that they put it in the dub as well, because I did hear from a reliable source that we should be getting a dub for this, or at least it's coming to Funimation. So when I hear Funimation, I have very, very high hopes that they're going to get the dub up and running as soon as possible and try to keep up, kind of like with Black Clover and many, many other series that they did it with. Sure, they're not doing great with Dragon Ball Super, but at least they're doing it in a way where it can actually be done the right way and it's not, um, breaking any laws and stuff like that. So it's all good. Um, but yeah, man, just getting to see a lot of this stuff unfold in this week's episode with him pretty much showing us not only that he has the heart of like 10 people, or he at least has the worth of, 15 people when it comes down to just being a good person, jumping in to something where probably really doesn't have any business being in part of it. Which I mean, we get that hint at that with the main girl, I had her name on the top tip of my tongue. I hate that, but it's like Alba or something like that. She knew that regardless of what was going on, he probably was going to get involved. That's just who this is, or that is just what this kid have shown since probably a young age, which we see him completely beat up from head to toe, just like how we see him right now in the snow. Um, Either he was trying to protect somebody and this happened, or it was just a situation where he was a victim in all of this and got attacked. I'm not 100% um, true. I'm not 100% sure, but that this is still the second episode, and I'm very, very fresh on this series. Knew nothing about it until actually seeing it drop on somewhere, on Crunchyroll. But other than that, with knowing that he also has some type of latent power, and I only say latent in the sense of he can't harness it unless, I guess, a certain situation, or kind of like Gohan, when he's very angry as a young boy, he had all this energy, but even though he had all that energy, he still came up on the scouter as a level 1 or like a level 0 because all of the energy was inside and being, tempered by him holding back and not wanting to be angry. And by just letting that anger go, his power jumps high. So, seemingly that is the case, and maybe that is another reason why the sorcerer that is taking care of Seth did not want him to go out of, his way to do something. Because look at Titan Punch, and look how easily he manhandled these so-called sorcerers. Sure, the guy who has the drippy nose is truly the boss, and that is another great, beautiful, just way of pushing the buttons of audience members who think you can already sum out the whole situation. And if you can tell me that you thought the kid with the drippy nose, even though they were paying quite a bit of attention to him, if you told me you knew he was a leader just by how this episode played out, before they say it, you're God. You deserve to do a channel, and I will subscribe and comment daily. I want to know your ways. But with him becoming, like he's just the bald guy being someone, including the guy who gave him like great information. He clearly is just a veteran in the game, and knowing certain things that he's probably been through, he can easily say what he says and actually feel like it has some meaning to it, because he's probably seen some things that if he didn't, act smart, he wouldn't be there today. And with how he is, he's probably left some people on the battlefield to die. That's just kind of how it would seem. But he did stick it in with these kids all the way through. Which I mean, the boss saves him, so he kind of had to, I guess. Um, with this episode about to end though, and seeing that Seth has a power probably stronger than something any sorcerer is supposed to have that can't even do magic. He's literally stopping an attack that is capable of wiping out, like pretty much disintegrating buildings in seconds, and he is holding it back, pretty much showing us that whatever he is trying to become, it is 100% possible, but at the same time, it might be also the downfall of other people around him if that power was, not tempered or wasn't, taught to be contained in the right ways, is how I want to kind of put it. So, really interested to see how people are still taking the show. I saw some comments on it saying that it was rather like bland and this and that, but for a show that has to start from nothing and, make a new audience from just the anime alone, If this is bland to you, trust me, you're not gonna like a lot of anime that's coming. And the only reason why I can see why people are saying it's bland or it's boring or something like that is because you've probably seen these types of stories. But the thing about these types of stories is they're only bland and boring because you know how they need to meet characters, build up relationships, and once they build up relationships, they can actually learn about the world around them, or the world around them is going to start learning about the main character, which will force the character into some. You see what I'm saying? You can suck the fun out of it by just thinking too hard, and I think that's where all these negative comments would come from, and that's where you got to find the right types of people you want to listen to because regardless of how a show is about to show me, show me the way, um, I'm going to have to just let it ride out. If I felt that way, Hunter x Hunter would be a super bland show because I've seen Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, and many, many more other shows. Gundam shows, all these different shows where kids start as kids and they grow up, but Hunter x Hunter is a kid hasn't even grown up. So, with all that being said, um, you can't just take your knowledge that you have for granted when it comes down to these animators because I think they have the best chance of surprising everybody with some subtle changes and some subtle changes and some subtle anime choices. I think we could really end up with some crazy, crazy character designs. The guy who we just saw had like a freaking weird bat wings as his head, like on his head. I don't even know. So wherever this is going, I'm pretty interested in it. I'm not sure if you guys are or not. That's why I'm seeing if there are some people out there that are enjoying this or just keeping up with it from start to finish, like how I am. Let me know in the comments down below, and if not, it's all good. I will be that person to do it for you if you really let me. I have no problem watching this show and telling you about it. So if something hype happens, you heard it here first, and you can go watch it after you hear about it. So with that, oh, I know what show this reminds me of. If you want to see a show that might have uh the same type of implications, like in my opinion, that's close to this, is U Q Holders. That show that came out last year, or maybe this year, like the beginning of this year. That show really gives me the vibes of this main character for some reason, and I hope that doesn't turn people off or turn people away from it. I don't think he's gonna get nearly as many girls as he does in that series, but I do feel like he's going to build some relationships with some strong people and become super broken in the sense of um, they're going to probably follow his example. Like he wants to just save people. He doesn't care about what he gets out of it. So who wouldn't want to follow that guy? But yeah, that's it for me on this one. I'm going to finish Nergante. I hope you enjoy this content because right now I am literally doing this as I was speaking the whole time, and I'm not sure if I'm actually going to beat him without dying. This is pretty dirty, so let's see. Alright, everybody. I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace. Let's go. We out here.